Want to get away? Can't get out of that pesky deadline? Well, The Undertaker's random return is here to save you. Breathe a sigh of relief as The Undertaker gives you an easy way out of life's most annoying necessities, like boring meetings.
Well, in the third quarter of 2015, it looks like our revenues will be on pace to... What the hell is that? Why are the lights off? Is this part of the meeting?
Pesky deadlines.
Okay, Mike, you've got about 20 minutes to turn in these forecast reports. Are we going to make that deadline? What the hell? Where are the lights? Is this part of the deadline?
WWE World Heavyweight Championship matches.
And now going for the F5, and they're going to put Seth Rollins away. World Heavyweight Championship. Lesnar to win the championship. Cover.
Save 20 minutes of your life with a gong, a brooding stare, and eventually a rematch between Undertaker and Brock Lesnar that nobody asked for. Listen to PodNasty on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/AKONUWA. It is Alfred Big Nasty Kanoa. Dateline! July 20th, 2015. It's Dia del Amigo. It's Engineers Day. It's Independence Day in Colombia. It's Lempiras Day. And of course, it's Tree Planting Day. Don't forget to subscribe to PodNasty on iTunes and YouTube, and listen to PodNasty on SoundCloud and Stitcher. We're going to have some more videos rolling out in the coming weeks. I had a wonderful interview with WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins just a few days ago that's up, and that has gotten a lot of buzz because of the words that he had for John Morrison in addition to the Tough Enough contestants. Great interview. He was in and out of character. I think I did a good job balancing that out. I know WWE wants their top stars to be in character generally, and I feel like I got some real answers in addition to storyline-driven stuff. But all in all, it's a very entertaining interview. And we go from one current world champion to a former world champion, as Magnus will be on the show later on today in the broadcast. But voice! Did you see Battleground last night? It was a good pay-per-view with a good crowd up until the end, which I hesitate to call it the end because there was still 20 minutes left in the show when The Undertaker showed up. What the hell was that? Was that not a heel move? Are we supposed to just be accepting The Undertaker as a babyface just because he's The Undertaker? Because in my book, that was a heel move. Undertaker's heel. I don't care what anybody says. People pay their hard-earned money to see Brock Lesnar. He wrestles a few times a year. And when he's going for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in a match where he is the top babyface, not only in that match, but he's a top babyface in the company, The Undertaker comes and ruins it for everybody with 20 minutes left in the show. Why? Because you lost to Brock Lesnar 2 WrestleManias ago clean? I mean, this is sour grapes. This is sour grapes. It's not like Brock Lesnar cheated to end the streak, which would have been a huge heel move on Brock's part. It would have warranted Undertaker getting revenge. It's not like Paul Heyman jumped in. It's not like Brock Lesnar used a steel chair. He beat The Undertaker's ass in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania 30 clean. And eventually people moved on, and now he's a big babyface. And The Undertaker comes back 2 WrestleManias later? Move on, brother. Coming back like a crazy ex who just can't get over it? Why are you doing this? What's done is done. Unless Undertaker's heel, this makes no sense. Unless WWE is making a concerted effort to turn him heel, it doesn't make sense in terms of a babyface seeking revenge after losing fair and square. Now, it would have made sense maybe if it was the week after, the night after, the month after, even the year after, heading into WrestleMania 31. But The Undertaker wrestled WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 31 with no conflict against Brock Lesnar since losing. And then now, in the middle of the year, at Battleground, now you want to get your revenge? It's ridiculous. It's a heel move. It's a heel move, and there was still 20 minutes left in the show. Why? Did The Undertaker have an Uber that arrived early? We've got all this time left in the show, and you ruined the main event. And now it's getting to the point where Michael Cole made this claim as Brock Lesnar was wrestling. Oh, Brock Lesnar hasn't lost a match by pinfall or submission in 2 years. 2 years, gentlemen. And it's a joke. Because look at the last 3 times Brock Lesnar was supposed to have a match. It either didn't start or it didn't finish. The last 2 times it didn't start, didn't finish. You go back to WrestleMania 31. He's wrestling Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins interrupts, pins Roman Reigns, and it's a schmoz in terms of Brock Lesnar losing. The night after on Raw, he's supposed to wrestle Seth Rollins. Match doesn't get underway because Seth Rollins runs off. Last night at WWE Battleground, he's wrestling Seth Rollins. Match doesn't end because The Undertaker comes in and interrupts it. So this whole Brock Lesnar, he only wrestles so many times, and now it's like the last 6 times he's wrestled, which is probably about 2 years worth of Brock Lesnar. Half of those times, it's been a schmoz. Brock Lesnar beating Undertaker, John Cena, The Big Show, that Brock Lesnar was dominant and was a draw. And wins and losses with Brock Lesnar mean more because he only wrestles so many times. But now it's getting into a pattern where Brock Lesnar matches are filled with bells and whistles. So now what's going to happen if he wrestles The Undertaker? Is The Undertaker going to pull him into the depths of hell and that's how the match is going to end? I'm telling you, that's how the match is going to end. The Undertaker's going to pull Brock Lesnar into the depths of hell, and the match will be over. Because they look like they're too scared to beat Brock still. They probably don't want to beat The Undertaker again because he's in pretty much the same boat as Brock is. It's a part-timer. And so they're going to go with this. And besides, I don't want to see Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. I don't think anybody does. We've moved on from the feud, and if you remember at WrestleMania 30, that match sucked. It was a bad match that we only remember because Brock Lesnar ended the streak. Other than that, it was a very unforgettable match. It was nothing special. And we're going to see this again at SummerSlam. Even though Sting is rumored to return, you got Undertaker versus Sting, which I know would be a bad match, but it's a bad match we haven't seen before. It's a bad match that could draw money. Brock Lesnar and Undertaker, that's not going to be a good match, and there's no streak on the line. So what's there to care for? Undertaker's still bitter because he lost at WrestleMania 30? Where were you the Raw after, when they were bragging about it? Where were you for the year after when Paul Heyman was bragging about it? You wait till the cycle is over, and you don't even attack him at a pay-per-view? That's a big deal. You attack him at Battleground? What's the matter with you? What's the matter with The Undertaker? WWE's doing this thing where it seems like they don't care who the babyface and the heel is. It's like they don't want to tell you the story as to why somebody's a babyface and why somebody's a heel because they just expect people to cheer or boo for who they want. And that's a mistake. There needs to be storytelling. There needs to be intricacies and nuances as to why somebody's good and why somebody's bad. The Undertaker presumably is a good guy. So why did he come in, interrupt a perfectly good WWE World Heavyweight Championship main event with 20 minutes left in the show because of something that happened 2 years ago, clean? That psychology makes no sense. This trickles down to the Divas division where the Bellas are babyface one week, heel the other week, without any explanation. We saw this with John Cena this past Monday on Raw, where he's sitting there waiting to fight the number one contender for the United States Championship between Rusev and Cesaro. Rusev and Cesaro had this hellacious match. It was a great match. They come back from break. Rusev is spent. He's literally sitting in the corner trying to recuperate. And John Cena, the babyface, the White Knight, is bouncing around in the ring. He's fresh. He willingly takes his match. He dominates a match against Rusev, and people are booing him. Now, ironically, they were booing him because he is being presented as a heel. He is being presented as a heel in that match because he's not giving Rusev a chance to rest. He's all over Rusev, and people feel sorry for him. Simple psychology. And it's just like WWE said, well, it's John Cena. People will cheer him if they want to boo him. No! You have to go out of your way to present somebody as a babyface and somebody as a heel. We're not going to just boo Rusev because, well, he's from Bulgaria and he hates the United States. Yeah, I understand that. But in the context of that match from this past week on Raw, Rusev was the ultimate babyface and John Cena was playing the role of the heel. Rusev came back at the end of the match and was on his way to beating John Cena before that match got interrupted. It's backwards booking. It's backwards booking. We're seeing it all over the place. We're seeing it with Sasha Banks. She's this big babyface all of a sudden on NXT, and then she goes to Raw, to the WWE main roster, and now she's heel. And I understand that territory aspect between NXT and WWE. Okay, fine. But there is continuity because Sasha Banks carries around the NXT Championship on WWE programming. So a lot of people who are watching WWE programming, watching these new divas for the first time from NXT, they're going to want to go and tune in to NXT. Well, let's see what they got going on. And they're going to see Sasha as this big babyface, and it's confusing. It's confusing and it's disjointed. And we're seeing all this all over the place storytelling as to who's babyface and who's heel. And it's really not doing anybody favors for WWE programming. It's not. I don't want to see Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. I mean, this match is making Sting versus Undertaker look good, and that's a match that I've been cold on. God, we're going to have to see that terrible match again. The hell is the Undertaker doing on Battleground? I like the match between John Cena and Kevin Owens at Battleground. It was, again, another long, overbooked match that was full of finishes. And that's starting to bother me in that they are taking away what it means to have a finishing maneuver. It wouldn't be a finishing maneuver if you're kicking out of it 5, 6, 7 times in a match. And they're completely bastardizing these moves. John Cena hits an AA on Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens hits an AA on John Cena. They both kick out of it. John Cena hits an AA from the second ropes. Kick out of it. John Cena hits an AA from the top of the Scott Trade Center. Kick out of it. These aren't finishing moves. It's starting to be like indie. The difference between independent wrestling and WWE is there is heart and emotion in a WWE match. Independent wrestling is for snobs who just want to see wrestling. Who just want to see guys jump around, who triple moonsaults and all these crazy moves that don't make sense, that there's no build to them. There's no heart in independent wrestling. It's just like a sport. You're seeing two men roll around in their underwear in independent wrestling. It means nothing. There's very little storyline development. It's just wrestling. And that's what WWE is starting to resemble in these John Cena versus Kevin Owens matches. It's just wrestling move after wrestling move after throw after throw after hold after kick out, and then finally the match ends. And if you keep doing this, you're going to train people to not get into a finisher. When you saw that AA for the first time, did you think for 1 second the match was over? The answer is no for most people, and if that's the case, you're defeating the purpose of the finisher. That finisher needs to be preserved for the end of the match. It needs to be preserved to signify, this thing might be over. And I understand every now and again, maybe at WrestleMania, where somebody kicks out of a finisher, and that adds value to it, and that adds value to the match itself. But to do this time after time after time at Battleground? I mean, I don't want to see a fourth match between John Cena and Kevin Owens because I know what it's going to be. The 3 matches before have been the same identical match pretty much. We're going to wrestle this long match with the counters. We're going to do this move, that move. We're going to do 10 finisher. The only difference between Kevin Owens and John Cena matches over the last 3 months is more finishers. This time, let's bump it up to about 14 finishers. And there's nothing to be gained between a Kevin Owens and John Cena feud at SummerSlam. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Either Kevin Owens wins and we're back to where we started, 2-2, which would demand a 5th consecutive match between these two, which I don't know if I would want to see. Or John Cena goes up 3-1, and that's devastating to Kevin Owens at this point in his career. Move on. Move on. It was a good run. Kevin Owens had 3 very good matches against John Cena. He lost 2 of them, but people are going to remember the fact that they were very good matches. And if he spins off into feuds with the Dean Ambroses and Cesaros of the world, he'll only get better. And a match between John Cena and Kevin Owens can take place months, maybe a year down the road. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. I'll tell you what I do have a problem with, though, is the Divas division all of a sudden. Is Stephanie McMahon coming out, and again, she's supposed to be the biggest heel in the company, yet this past Monday on Raw, she comes out and now she's a savior of the Divas division. The savior that nobody asked for. Paige was the one who was saying that she needs to get back up. Would it have been hard for her to be the one to bring in Charlotte and Becky Lynch? And then maybe have Sasha come out on her own accord and say, hey, I'm the champion of NXT. This isn't happening without me. We didn't need Stephanie McMahon there. Not at all. Stephanie McMahon is such a dominating presence. She makes every heel look emasculated. She completely made the Divas champion Nikki Bella look like a little girl. God forbid a Divas champion had the confidence to say, hey, I've been running this division, which she has. Nikki Bella's been champion for close to 300 days. She can make that claim, but no. Stephanie McMahon has to come out and say, no, I run this company. You just had that little piece of tin. It's terrible. She has to bring out all these divas and pair the minorities together and pair Charlotte and Becky Lynch and Paige together. It was ridiculous. And now there's 9 divas who are going to fight each other, and everybody went crazy on Twitter. Oh, it's a revolution. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a Royal Rumble. That's what it is. A revolution. It reminds me of that old Louis C.K. bit. Like, who's going to fuck all 9 of you? You got 9 divas in the ring. WWE's built the divas division around 2 divas, the Bella Twins, the last 4 or 5 years. And even then, they have a hard time getting on TV. You think 9 divas are going to be able to be focal points? Hell no! Somebody's getting lost in that shuffle. You're not going to get 9 divas that people are going to get invested in. What would have been wrong with bringing them up gradually, one at a time? I know WWE's invested in this right now, but the NFL is right around the corner. SummerSlam is right around the corner. WWE is not going to invest all that much time in the Divas division. It hasn't before. Why would it now? Remember, give Divas a chance. Had that match on Raw that, the announcer announced the title is on the line, and they had that long form match. And a couple weeks later, they're back to do the same thing. That's going to happen here. Because when you're competing with the NFL, and you've got, the ratings are really bad right now, and they're going to need something. This will take time. If you really want to get invested in this Divas division, you really want a revolution to happen, it'll take time. It'll take months, probably years of training fans to take these divas seriously. And you're going to need them to be on TV for multiple segments at a time. And if these record low ratings for the year keep up, and the NFL Monday Night Football monster returns, are you really going to invest that much more time in the divas? No, you won't. You just won't. I'll believe it when I see it. I like Charlotte. I like the NXT divas like anybody else. I just have a hard time believing that all of them at once are going to come to the main roster and create a revolution. I don't think this is a way to do the revolution. In fact, I think you do it one at a time. WWE has enough trouble focusing on 2-3 divas at a time. Now there's 9 of them in this storyline, and you're going to give them all time? No, you won't. No, you won't. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. I wanted to get into Tough Enough. I've been talking about Tough Enough quite a bit. One thing that bothers me about that show, in addition to the fact that it's a complete train wreck, in addition to the fact that Patrick is portrayed as this crazy black man who's screaming at something every episode. I think next episode he'll be screaming at this fish tank. Y'all ain't talking to me like that. I'm number one man. So what are you screaming about? What are you on, Prozac? In addition to all that garbage on Tough Enough, there's this narrative for the past couple of weeks that you need to be a character in order to work in WWE. Like Hulk Hogan is holding on to these 80s, 90s ideals. Oh, brother, you need to be a character. You can't just be yourself, brother. Bullshit! Yes, you can! Seth Rollins was on the show, which is so ironic to me. When Seth Rollins was on Tough Enough a couple weeks back, he led this character challenge where he was helping everybody get into character. Why was Seth Rollins helping people get into character? He's like the least character wrestler in there. Seth Rollins is just Kobe Lopez with the volume turned up. He's a louder, more obnoxious version of himself. He's not a character. He's not Seth Rollins, the evil Geico claims adjuster. He's Seth Rollins, the dude. And look at the top stars in WWE. The guys who are getting all the emphasis. John Cena. That's his real name. He's not a character. He's John Cena. He didn't become a big star until he just became himself. Kevin Owens. Just a dude who wants to fight people. His real first name is Kevin. He's just a guy. Seth Rollins. Brock Lesnar is his real name. Brock Lesnar is an NCAA Division I athlete who's just freak of day. That's what he is. The big stars in WWE in this day and age are not characters. They're just larger-than-life version of themselves. They're just themselves with a microphone in their hands. You know who the characters in WWE are? King What's Up. King Barrett. Fandango. What are they doing? That's where the characters are in WWE. They're in the pre-show, and they can barely get on television. That's what the characters do in this day and age. You don't need to be a character. And they had Patrick face off with Mata at Tough Talk, to where Mata's playing this character, this pharaoh. I am a pharaoh, and he's screaming, and he's doing the whole 80s thing. Patrick just played himself, says, hey man, you in America. He just played himself, and he got over, and people were chanting for his name. Because Mata looked ridiculous doing that in 2015. We don't need characters. You just need to be yourself. Why is there a narrative in Tough Enough that you need to be a gimmick? You don't. If you want to be in the mid-card, if you want to open the curtain, if you want to be on the pre-show, be a character all you want. You could be King Barry. You could be this pretend thing. You could be Stardust. Yeah, be a character if you want to be on the pre-show. You want to be in the main event, you could just be Patrick, the crazy black guy who yells at everybody. Because that's what Patrick's character is. I guess that's who he is. He's just some dude who just yells. Characters. You don't have to be that. I mean, I can see why Hulk Hogan is holding on to that, because that's the era that he grew up in. That's the era that he came up in, is where everybody's a character. It's not happening anymore. There's no more cartoons. This is about being yourself and finding what is it about you that strikes a chord with people, for better or for worse. Tell you something about Seth Rollins. I had my doubts about Seth Rollins being the one to break out as a heel in the Shield. I thought the way they were going, Seth Rollins was the biggest babyface in that stable, doing all these crazy stunts and getting people worked up. He had this very babyface-friendly moveset. And when he turned heel, I had my doubts. But then I watched that Destruction of the Shield special. Seth Rollins came off as the most unlikable guy in that DVD. I just wanted to punch him. He had that hat to the side, and he just had this demeanor about him like, I'm better than everybody else. And that's who he is on camera. And when I watched that special, I thought to myself, yes, that's what Seth Rollins is. That's why he's such a good heel. That's why people are chanting Justin Bieber at him. That's why there's no ironic cheers for Seth Rollins, because that's who he really is. Not a character, just a dude who's unlikable. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's working out fine for him. He's a WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And he doesn't have to put on a wig or learn how to dance. He doesn't have to do any of that. I had the pleasure of speaking with Magnus as we go from current WWE World Heavyweight Champion to former TNA Heavyweight Champion. Had a lot to say about TNA. Had a lot to say about GFW. Had a lot to say about his new book, fitness book that's coming out, called The Superstar Body. I will warn and apologize in advance that some parts are a little tougher to hear than others, but we did the best we could with the connection we had. And without further ado, I give to you Nick Aldis, a.k.a. Magnus. I am here with our special guest, former TNA Heavyweight Champion and now GFW star, Nick Aldis. You may know him as Magnus. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. Now, you've already started up with GFW. You've had matches. What are your thoughts on the promotion so far?
It's great. There's so much energy. That's the key thing. There's a renewed energy with everybody. There are some familiar faces, and then there are some new faces, and I think that overall, everyone's just excited and wants to deliver and is having fun. And honestly, like I posted a picture on Instagram after the first Flipper House show they did, and it was with Sanjay and it was with Doc Gallows, and it was just like, I'm just glad to be having fun again. I was just, that was really the key thing. It was just so much fun.
You say you're glad to be having fun again. Were you not having fun toward the end of your previous tenure with TNA?
No, absolutely not. I mean, and that's not a knock on, that's some of that to do with them and some of that to do with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to point fingers and say, it's like I said before, nobody owes you a living, nobody owes you a good time or anything like that. I just due to a number of different things, I just wasn't having fun there anymore, and I was excited to work for Jeff again. I think Jeff is a great boss, a great wrestling guy, and he's got a lot of experience in the business. He's third generation. People don't always really understand that about him. He's a third generation guy, not just on the wrestling side, but on the promoter side. And now, in addition to that, he started TNA from the ground up, and he'd learned from the mistakes, and from, some of the things that were done right. And now I think, he's going to be really dialed into making Global a success.
How did your deal with Global Force come around? Is this something that you had your eye on when it was announced last year?
Sure. Jeff and I have been, he's always been a guy who's gone to bat for me. And I've always, repaid him with loyalty and with, my best efforts. And when I saw all this stuff taking shape, it was a coincidence of timing that my deal was coming up with TNA. I have said several times in interviews that, I had made the decision a while back that, I was going to leave TNA when this contract expired. I wanted to see this contract through and be good for my word, and I was going to move on from TNA regardless of what else was on the table. And it just so happened that Global's really started to take shape, so I was really excited to sort of get in on the ground floor.
Now, Jeff Jarrett is currently the King of the Mountain champion, and we've seen that title in Global Force. So will Global Force Wrestling have a heavyweight championship, or will the King of the Mountain title be used as the top title in that promotion?
I am not aware of the plans on that respect. All I'm planning to do is show up and entertain the fans and do whatever I need to do. I'm sure I'll be privy to those plans if they sort of develop, but I don't really know at the moment.
I thought you did a great job in your tenure as TNA Heavyweight Champion. I mean, you had the right look. You were ready. You could do a great promo. I thought you were the total package, and I actually thought that it was premature of them to take the title off of you. Did you think it was premature when you lost the title?
I thought it was premature and immature. There was more than just. To me, I don't think that decision was based completely on business. But at the end of the day, it's like and I don't mean this to sort of shut you down, but it's just like I've been asked so many times about it. I'm kind of sick of talking about it. It's like what's done is done. They made the best of line it, and when it comes to what they're left with now, you get what you pay for, and that they had an opportunity with me, and I think that they missed it, and that. But the positive, you know what I mean? It's like I said before, no one knows you living, no one knows you were a spot or anything like that. I just decided to move on.
It's been a tumultuous 2 years for TNA, and you've been a part of the company for most of it. So how have the last 2 years been for you?
Well, this is one of the things I've said. I said Parents Town 17 is with Rolling Stones and all my other interviews. I felt a real sense of relief when I told them that I didn't want to discuss another contract around. A lot of that was just based on the fact that, I'm very invested. Whoever I'm working for, I'm very invested in them to help them be successful at every level. I'm not one of the guys who shows up and goes, well, they're doing it great and being able to see about it. And I think because of that, I didn't realize how much I was carrying around with me all the time just based on it. It was every week it was a new thing. Like, every week it was a new problem and a new situation and stuff. And after a while, it wears you down, and I was, and that was, I think that's a pretty good description of how a lot of the guys were feeling, I think.
Right. Now, you're married to a fellow wrestler in Mickie James, and you guys were on the road together. Did being married to another wrestler, does it make things easier, or is it more difficult to maintain your relationship with your schedules?
It's actually been really fun. There have been times when we were dating, when we were together, that sometimes, being in the same business was a blessing. Sometimes it's a little bit of a test, and but we always said that we're together in spite of the business, not because of it. And I think that, for the most part, like we're really, especially these days, while we're handling a lot of our stuff, and our bad stuff, together and looking at things and handling things on, in the business, but not as talent, looking like we're being afforded some other responsibilities, on an entrepreneurial level. Like, we're really a team, we've got Superstar Seminars, which is taking shape now. Our first one with Bill DeMott is looking like it's going to be very successful. We've got plans to do another Superstar Seminar in the UK in October. We've got some other really cool things coming up on the horizon. Watch this space. It's going to be announcing in a few days' time. So, for us, we get, we sort of handle all our business together, and we're
recently told Rolling Stone that you resisted ideas of doing an angle with Mickey. Eventually you did, but why did you resist those angles previously?
Just because I think that I didn't trust the people that necessarily were writing them, and I also thought that the motivation was just, I didn't think that they had it. I don't think they were thinking it all the way through. I think they just saw it as like an easy thing to throw it together, and then when the time they did come up, it was partly my idea that was then that she was added to, that I then thought, I realized, like, when we saw the whole arc, saw the whole story arc, and we both were into it, and on a business level, it made more sense. I liked it creatively, so it was, the other times I just resisted it because because I didn't think we were, we hadn't been together that long, so it was a little bit of to me, I thought it was a little immature to sort of, it was a little premature, sorry, to go straight into it. But also just because I never really thought it was right, and then the only time I wanted to do it was if I thought it was going to be good, and I thought the angle with Bram was good.
Right, was the train tracks idea the train tracks thing, was that your idea?
No? No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
You seem like you didn't like it. Did you not like it?
Well, let's put it this way. The only person that did like it was the person who wrote it, who was the final say on it, and said, yep. And we all suggested alternatives. We all thought it was not going to work. He's going to get the reaction it basically did. And our experience and instinct was disregarded, and that was the result of it. And that was one of the reasons where we just kind of said, okay, well, it's maybe time to wrap this thing up.
Now, you've discussed interest in NXT in the past. It definitely has a lot of momentum, but here's a WWE-owned promotion that's scooping up all these big-name talents from the independent scene. Now, you're an independent wrestler. Does it worry you what the indie scene might look like 5 years from now if WWE keeps up this pattern of taking all these big names?
No way. No, of course not. The business is the business. Regardless of what the name on the banner is, there's always going to be. There's so much talent. They can't all be at WWE. Some of us, sometimes it's because of what they decided. Sometimes it's because of what we as talent have decided. It's the right time, or the right route at that time. Not everyone can be there at the same time. There's so much talent. That's not even a talking point to me. There's always going to be great talent available. There's always going to be new promotions to breaking new ground. I think that the business actually is in a really interesting and exciting position now because it's being blown wide open. Because people are starting to realize that they don't have to necessarily always pay big money and go to a big arena show to see a lot of quality. So a lot of people are really getting on board with this idea of seeing new names, new faces, and new promotions and this sort of new energy and stuff. So I think there's a whole market out there of different alternatives. So I think that's actually how the energy spread.
You have a fitness book coming out entitled The Superstar Body. Does this focus primarily on bodybuilding? Is there a twist to it? Explain what's going on in this book.
Okay, so basically, the whole premise of the book is basically like, look, if you want to be in shape, I don't care if you want to look like a bodybuilder, if you want to look like an MMA fighter or a movie star or whatever it is. This is a way to give you all of the fundamental base knowledge from not only me, but from fitness models, from Olympians, from top quality trainers who have worked with guys in the NFL and the NBA and stuff like that. Pro wrestlers, pro athletes. Basically, it's a whole collection of knowledge and basically the fundamental basic stuff you need, the tools that you need in order to be able to do whatever you want to do with your body. That's why it's called the superstar body, in the sense that if you look at a movie or a TV show or a magazine, you go, man, I'd love to have that guy's body. But this book it will give you the core fundamental knowledge of how to do that. It's not just about bodybuilding. Some of the principles are rooted in bodybuilding, yes, because bodybuilding was the guys who came up with it first. Some of it's rooted in fitness, some of it's rooted in diet, some of it's rooted in the heat of biohacking and stuff like that. So it's really more about fitting through all the crap that you see in magazines learn this stuff anyway. Is that, you know, when you surround yourself with people who know what they're talking about, and you exchange ideas and different principles and stuff, and that's kind of what I'm trying to give people with this book. That it's not just me; it's a whole load of really cool people. You know, for girls, there's like girls like Brooke and stuff who have an incredible body, and it's like they didn't get it by accident; they got it from hard work. And you know, if you want to look like that, here's some of her routines and some of her principles. You know, if you want to know how to be an absolute cardio machine, you know, and how to stay focused all the time, Kurt Angle's in there writing about what he does. You know, you're never going to be able to sit down with Kurt and ask him those things, but you can find out that stuff if you buy the books. You know, and there's a ton of really great people who have contributed to it.
Now, there are a lot of new age workouts like CrossFit. How do you think workouts like that compare to your strategy? And how do you feel about workouts like CrossFit?
I think they're great. I think, honestly, you know, for me, it's like, you know, whatever works for every single person is different. And I stress this a lot in the book. Every single body is different. Everyone reacts different ways to different things, different stimuli. And again, the premise of the book is to try and explain to people, like, there is no right or wrong way. Yeah, but these things are the things that have proven to be, you know, tried and true over and over again. And if you take these and make this your foundation and then build from that and go in whatever direction you want, you can, you know, basically put you in control. It's a really great feeling when you know that you're completely in control of your body rather than like, oh man, like, you know, why can't I get rid of this or why can't I get rid of that? Like, I don't know what's happening, because you're not completely in control. But if you start to develop this knowledge, then you have that knowledge that, you know, I know that if I want to, I could drop 10 pounds in a week, you know, and I know how to do it safely, and you know, if I needed to for something, for like an acting part or something. I also know that if I really wanted to, I could gain 5 pounds, you know, and be solid and thick. It's like, because I just know how to do it based on my experience and my core knowledge, and that's sort of what I'm trying to share with this. If you like CrossFit, do CrossFit. If you like yoga, do yoga. Like, all of those things are in there. It's just more of a case of like finding out what works for you and then learning how to build on it yourself.
Wow, that sounds like a great book. I might have to get me a copy. 10 pounds in a week. It's beach season. I don't mind. I'm out here in LA. So, yeah, that might be on my wish list for this month. He is Nick Aldis, a.k.a. Magnus, author of The Superstar Body, former world champion, superstar professional wrestler. Thank you so much for stopping by.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Nick Aldis, a.k.a. Magnus, sounding like he's coming off of a pretty rocky divorce with TNA. I mean, he did the best he could to remain cordial and professional, and he was, but you could read between the lines and tell that things were not very good between these two parties at the end. He had that line where he said that TNA was premature and immature and taking the title off of him, and I agree. I absolutely agree. But he's a talented kid. He's a total package. He'll be just fine in the independent wrestling scene. If NXT decides to scoop him up, he'll be just fine. And I look forward to what the future holds. Always remember to subscribe to PodNasty on YouTube and iTunes. Listen to PodNasty on SoundCloud and Stitcher. Don't forget to purchase your copy of The Superstar Body by Nick Aldis, a.k.a. Magnus, which is currently on sale at Amazon.com. And if you'll excuse me, I have to continue to manufacture a superstar body.
Well, in the third quarter of 2015, it looks like our revenues will be on pace to... What the hell is that? Why are the lights off? Is this part of the meeting?
Last October, I said John Cena was the most generous WWE top star of all time, and some of you politely and eloquently disagreed with me. But fast forward to Elimination Chamber, where he lost to a developmental champion in his first WWE match, and I'm happy to report I'm right.